What does Europe mean to you?
Europe is where I live.
Europe is my playground. It's like where I find my inspiration, where I find the stories and where I find the people and the resources to make the films.
It's a dream and a market as well.
Quality.
Future.
Culture.
It means freedom.
Freedom.
Freedom?
It's a surprise.
Life.
Passion.
Unity.
Togetherness.
Sharing dreams.
That's so wonderful, after all those years of European construction, to observe that Italians are so Italian, British and are so British, and the Frenchy are still so Frenchy.
It's a place I can't imagine being out of, or working outside of, so it's home.
We all love stories.
We all love stories.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here so early. My name is Wendy Mitchell. I'm with Screen International and the British Council, and I'm delighted to be moderating a talk with European Commission VP of the Digital Single Market, Andrus Ansip. So thank you for being here. Yesterday, we had a visit from Commissioner Oettinger, who sort of was saying like a mantra, portability doesn't mean the end of territoriality. So maybe you can catch us up on where your office is with portability, and if you agree that it doesn't mean the end of territoriality. Straight in.
Yes, I agree with this statement, because as we know, 20% of Europeans are spending at least 10 days during the year in another EU member state, and many of those people traveling in some other EU member states, they would like to get access to their legally bought digital content in their home countries. But because of copyright restrictions, they cannot. But for ordinary people, it's not a big problem. VPN is available. 20% of internet users in the European Union are using VPN to get access to digital content. And VPN, as we know, is not free of charge. And if paid, you have to pay 6, 8, 10 euros per month, 20 euros per free month. You don't think you are doing something in a wrong way. But there is a problem. Authors are not remunerated. So even 68% of film viewers in the European Union said that they are using so-called free downloads. It's mainly about stealing. For ordinary people, maybe it's not a big problem, but for filmmakers, it's a real headache. Authors are not fairly remunerated. Just a year ago, in the same event, some people, they wanted to kill me because of this portability proposal. Today, situation changed. They say, go ahead. This is a right thing to deal with. So, I don't think this is about absolute territorial exclusivity when 20% of internet users are using VPN to get access to digital content, and 68% of film viewers are using free downloads. We have to protect principle of territoriality, but I think a year ago we had different understanding what this absolute territorial exclusivity means. For me, absolute, it means 0% or 100%. But if it's somewhere there in between, then it's very relative understanding about absolute exclusivity. So I'm ready to protect and I'm protecting principle of territoriality. But we have to understand about reality also. Piracy is a real headache. And to deal with piracy, we have to provide also legal access to digital content to our people. Today, with our old-fashioned rules, somehow we are pushing our people to steal. They don't want to steal. They would like to pay. They would like to get legal access to digital content. And that's why we made this portability proposal.
And with the portability proposal, can you tell us a little bit about how it's been received so far in the European Parliament and with consumers who you've talked to? Has the reaction changed at all over the year as the ideas have shifted?
There is full support in the European Parliament. Jury committee voted for portability proposal unanimously. There is support also among member states, and I really hope during those trialogues between member states, the European Parliament and the European Commission, we will find this solution, and our people, they will enjoy this allowing portability since next year. So it will be a good solution for everybody, for our people who will get legal access to their legally bought digital content even when traveling in some other countries, and it will be a good solution also for filmmakers, for right owners, because they will be more fairly remunerated. So, good proposal, and I'm happy that producers, actors, filmmakers, they are also almost happy with this proposal. But a little bit more than a month ago, we launched another proposal. We would like to provide better cross-border access to digital content to our people. Today, as we know, 80% of American movies, they are available in more than 20 different countries around the world, but 79% of European movies are available just in 2 or even less, it means in 1 country. So it's not about real cultural diversity. We have to provide better access to digital content to our people, and at the same time we have to provide also fair remuneration to our authors. We have to deal with the piracy.
With that cross-border access, do you see that increasingly with pan-territorial licensing? Or
No way, no. All our proposals, they are about making easier licensing and make it cheaper licensing. We would like to cut those administrative costs of licensing. Today, in some situations, it is too complicated to deal with those licenses when we're talking, for example, out-of-commerce works. Nobody wants to deal with those licenses, too costly in meaning of administrative costs. You have to figure out who is right owner. There are many of those right owners. We can count with hundreds of those right owners, and too costly in meaning of administrative costs. Yes, lawyers, some civil servants, they will not get this money anymore, but authors will be much better, fairly remunerated if we will double this volume of the content available across borders to our people. So we would like to extend usage of a collective licensing model to make this licensing easier, and also country of origin principle. But the aim is the same, to make licensing easier and cheaper. I'm not talking about promotion of piracy or something like this, free access. I'm talking about licensing. but it's too complicated in many, many cases today. Even talking about our cultural diversity in meaning of preservation, for example. Today, in archives, if this movie is in, or some other content is in VHS, and there is a need to turn this on DVD, licensing is needed. But if it's too complicated, then it means we can easily lose those masterpieces. So we would like to make this licensing process easier and cheaper. And in this way, we would like to improve access, cross-border access also to digital content. And if there will be better access, then authors, they will be also more fairly remunerated. This is our aim.
And the film industry experts that you've spoken to about maybe an easier system of licensing, are they willing to explore new and easier models, or are they sort of wanting to stick to the way things are done now?
Cum si, cum sa. It depends. This year I took part in an event in Danish Film Institute, and there was a lady, screenwriter, famous screenwriter, and she delivered a really impressive speech. She said that this my nice dress, red dress I bought from second-hand shop. I paid 30 euros for this. My car is the ugliest and the oldest car in the city, and so on. Her message was clear. You have to change those rules. Authors are not fairly remunerated today. There was another guy sitting on my left hand. He said, don't touch existing copyright rules. Existing system works well. Lady sitting on my right hand got an applause. This guy sitting on my left hand got also an applause. So,
did you get applause? No. None in the middle.
So-so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think we can say that it works well if somebody is totally unhappy.
Yeah.
But today, I think some people, they are really unhappy because piracy, as we know, is headache, and it's not somewhere, but it's about authors' money. So if piracy will flourish, will continue to flourish, then it means you will be not able to create more movies. I'm happy to be here to celebrate 25 years media anniversary, media program anniversary, and I'm happy that it's possible to use also EU taxpayers' money to produce European movies, even 100 million euros per year, but it's quite small amount of money in comparison with the damages piracy is making to film industry, for example.
And obviously combating piracy is one of your main aims with everything you're doing. So could you talk us through a little bit about how you see the digital single market eradicating? Can it eradicate piracy? Can it cut it in half? Do you have sort of figures that you're trying, targets like that, or just more broadly how you think it can help?
Yeah, as we discussed already, at first we have to provide legal access to our people to their legally bought digital content. We have to improve access, cross-border access to our cultural diversity, to those masterpieces which are quite often just locked in some archives. But we have to deal also with piracy. We would like to use or to draw special attention on follow the money principle. As we know, legal companies are paying quite remarkable amounts of money to those platforms allowing illegal downloads. So according to some analysis, it's equal to $227 per year. So also European legal companies are paying to those platforms allowing illegal downloads of content. Of course, quite often those legal companies, they say that, sorry, but those are robots delivering our advertising money. And according to our understanding, those contacts are quite efficient contacts, and we're happy how those robots are using our advertising money. But once again, authors, filmmakers are not happy because somebody is financing those platforms, stealing somebody's works. So we would like to stop those data flows, and I think developments, they already were quite remarkable. We were able to, or let's say, those stakeholders were able to agree in voluntary cooperation principles. So we would like to go on with those processes. We have to cut those money flows going to those who are stealing your content. So, and if they will not have money anymore, then I think we will be able to stop also piracy. So, of course, I'm not naive. I know that it's a never-ending story, but we have to deal with this. We have to tackle the piracy.
And obviously the film industry, I think, has been quite vocal in the past year or so about the way it works currently and the way it wants to keep working. Are there still things you need to hear from film industry experts? Are you still learning about the film industry? Do we need more feedback? Are you happy with what has been given so far?
I'm happy with those relations we have with experts today, but I don't think in the European Commission we are so clever that we are ready to provide really good solutions for all the situations without asking from stakeholders, without public consultations, and without having deep cooperation with real experts. No, it's absolutely impossible. At least me, myself, I'm not able for that. So I need your help is definitely needed.
Okay, thank you. I know that the EFAD, the national funding bodies, have been here this week having their meeting, and one thing they've been talking about is the SATCAB directive and the catch-up TV provisions. Maybe you can tell us what the timeline is for knowing more about that. Somebody told me maybe February something is going to be confirmed. Do you?
It's very, very difficult for me to provide some kind of timelines. We launched our proposals, and now it's up to council. It means up to member states to create their position, and then in the European Parliament they have to find their solution for this issue, and then if we will be able to reach this, we call it general approach, and then we can start with the trialogues, and it depends from so many parties how quickly we can move on, but I think general understanding is in all those institutions that actions are needed, and we cannot just wait and hope that 1 level a day piracy will just disappear, and 1 level a day our people, they will get better access to those masterpieces which are quite often just locked in in some archives or museums. So I think sense of urgency is everywhere.
But I think some of the catch-up TV can also include films. If we look at something like the BBC iPlayer, there's films on there, for instance. So do you think film producers should be worried about catch-up TV going this way?
I don't want to open some very detailed discussions here, but generally speaking, all the time we have to be worried, but we don't have to be afraid. But in this very situation, I don't think filmmakers they have to be even so much worried. But anyway, to have a look what is happening, it's always good to know what is happening. So it's good for industries also to create some further plans, and if you know about those possible trends, it's much easier to predict the future and to create also your own plans. But no need to be afraid, no need even to be worried.
And maybe just stepping back and looking at the big picture of this digital world we live in, and what do you think are the good opportunities for content creators like filmmakers working in this digital world, and for European audiences as well? What's great about this scary new time we're in?
I think digital era is creating much more new opportunities also for filmmakers. As we know, younger generation is more and more using mobile devices, especially their smartphones, to watch even movies. I don't know how it works for me. It's too small screen, but as we know, some filmmakers, they started to produce special movies already, mentioned for those people who would like to enjoy those movies using their cellular phones. So I think film industry is adapting very quickly with the new realities, new opportunities, and yeah. My advice is not needed. You do. You know how you have to act, and you're doing this well.
Are there other sectors? Obviously, the digital single market is not just about film or even media. So, are there other sectors you think the film industry can learn from, and how they're approaching?
I gave this example about American movies. In how many countries you can watch those movies as average, and then comparison of European situation, and this situation is not so good, and it is not about real cultural diversity if people they are not getting access to digital content, but we can say more generally that fragmentation is creating a lot of damages for Europe, especially for smaller member states, especially for small and medium-sized companies, for startups. In many cases, we know that big players, global players, they are able to deal with 28 different sets of rules, but for smaller companies, it's practically impossible to understand about those 28 types of different regulations dealing with consumer protection issues, how they are protecting consumers somewhere, what kind of obligations those businesses are getting from those different rules, regulations. Message is quite simple: stay at home. So, or go to somewhere where market is much bigger. To scale up here for startups in Europe is quite complicated, and it's mainly because of fragmentation. So, about cultural diversity, I would like to get access to some movies but it's extremely complicated in legal way. So it's much easier to use VPN or torrent or some other stuff allowing free downloads. So we have to change this situation. But this is a general problem. We were able to create single market in the European Union already 20 years ago. And I think everybody benefited from this single market, but this single market is existing in physical meaning, but in digital meaning, the single market does not exist in the European Union. And 20 years ago, we were able to tear down those barriers dividing our member states. But because of the fact that our life, our economy is becoming every day more and more digital, we can see how those barriers, they are coming back. And every morning we can see that those barriers, they are higher and higher. Once again, we have to create once again, we have to create single market in the European Union. And this time we have to tear down those digital barriers dividing our countries. So digital single market will be beneficial for everybody, especially for filmmakers.
And I'm afraid we've run out of time, but is there any final thought you wanted to leave the film industry here with? Will you agree with the commissioner's chant that portability doesn't have to spell the end of territoriality?
But I think it's not an issue anymore. But this year I was also together with you in Cannes, and when we started to talk about portability, then filmmakers said that no, it's not an issue. So do it. So this good thing, we would like to get it. So no, as we discussed in the very beginning. This portability proposal is not going against principle of territoriality. We have to protect principle of territoriality. As you know, I'm coming from quite small country, from Estonia, and we are producing movies also in Estonia. And last year, our movie Tangerines got even Oscar nomination. But for me, it's quite clear that there is no business interest to pay for pan-European licenses to show this really good movie across the Europe in all the big cinemas. There is business interest in many countries, but if we will promote just pan-European licenses, then we can easily kill film industry in quite many European countries, and believe me, we never thought about that kind of options in the European Commission. Our aim is to provide better access to digital content, to movies, music, sports, e-books, audiobooks, etc., to all people. And at the same time, our aim is also to provide fair remuneration to our authors. So I'm not representing here Pirate Party.
Okay, I think that's a wonderful place to end. So thank you so much for your time this morning and coming to chat.
Thank you very much.
What is the best way to get into the film industry?
The best way is to have the passion.
Watch films, show your talent.
Do it.
Really be passionate about cinema.
I suppose you need some luck.
Go to film school.
You gotta work very hard, you gotta read a lot.
I strongly believe that the best way is to write story you want to tell. Pictorial taste, strong culture about the history.
You have to be either talented or passionate, or both.
The best way is your own way, I think.
The best way is just to start to work on any position in any way you can.
Try as much as possible.
Not thinking about what you want to do, just do it.
We all love stories.
We all love stories.
Hello, everybody, again, and welcome to the Game Changers. But we're going to ask if you're actually a game changer.